real solutions to money, relationships, wellness, and more. Shine a light onto your day and into your life. Power Your Life with Dr. Joanne White.
Welcome to Power Your Life. I'm Joanne White, your host, and my first guest mission is to show others how to live not only a healthy life, but a gluten-free one. Jennifer Fugo is the founder of the Gluten-Free School and the author of the best-selling book, The Savvy Gluten-Free Shopper, How to Eat Healthy Without Breaking the Bank. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, Jennifer. So, I'm gluten-free like you are, and you said that in 2008, what happened to change your life a little bit?
So I felt really sick all the time. I had a lot of digestive problems. I was constantly running to the bathroom in social situations, which is not the place you want to be like rushing for an emergency. And what really prompted me to go to the doctors was that I couldn't wake up in the morning after sleeping even 11 hours. And I felt totally drugged. So I went to the doctors, they ran blood work, and he goes, well, you look fine to me, maybe take some B vitamins. And I knew in my heart that that wasn't the right answer, so I ended up at a nutritionist's office who, looking at my diet, said, you know, hey, you eat a lot of gluten, why don't we try taking that out and seeing what happens? And lo and behold, within like 3 days, my entire life changed.
Now, 3 days, that's pretty amazing, because usually it takes a little bit longer for everybody's system to kind of adjust. Gluten-free is, firstly, from my experience when I first started to be gluten-free, a lot of the foods out there, the so-called gluten-free breads, don't have really healthy kinds of products in it or ingredients in it. How do you be healthy and gluten-free?
Well, the trick is to eat a diet that happens to be healthy and gluten-free all at the same time. So gluten is found in specific grains like barley, rye, oats that are contaminated, wheat, and spelt. So those are the main areas where it is.
So stay away from those.
Right, exactly. But the thing is, that leaves all that produce in the produce aisle available to you.
And vegetables?
Vegetables, fruit, meat, fish, nuts, seeds, all sorts of really good stuff. And so when you focus on everything else, you figure out that your diet is actually pretty vast. But when you only focus on the products that are gluten-free, your diet feels really narrow. So for me, it's how can we really focus on the foods that happen to be gluten-free, and that ups the nutrient density of your diet and will allow your body to heal faster.
Plus, you also feel that you're getting the nutrients that you need, and you don't feel deprived. I remember feeling very deprived when I first started that gluten-free diet. Now, we have some ingredients here because your book really talks about how to not break the bank when you're going gluten-free, and it can be really expensive to shift gears, right? So you're going to tell us and show us how we can do that with saving some money when being a savvy shopper. Tell us a little bit about what's going on here.
So there's a lot of different options. As I said, naturally, gluten-free foods are the best way to go. So for example, just to give you some price comparisons, like the bag of beans, for example, is the same price or less than that single can of beans.
And it's healthier too.
It's healthier.
Because this has more salt and more sugar and
weird ingredients and all sorts of stuff. Whereas a bag of beans you can cook in about an hour and a half. You just keep it on low. They're really simple to cook, and you can freeze them in single serving portions in the freezer for up to a month.
Oh, great.
Right.
So you can have that and just whip it out and be able to have another meal.
Exactly. The same thing goes with the rice. A whole bag of rice is actually less expensive. An organic bag of rice is less expensive than this one single pre-made package of basmati rice.
Right.
And to me, that's mind-blowing. So you could actually cook that whole bag of rice, and again, you could freeze it in your freezer, because you can buy frozen rice in the grocery aisle.
So what you just need to do is make sure that when you're putting it in the freezer, you're dating it so that you know when you did that, so you don't let it just to be a long time before you eat it.
Exactly. And I also like to have a list on the front of the fridge of what's in the freezer so that I know. I don't have to like search through. I'll just go, okay, oh, I've got rice, I've got beans, I've got this, I've got that.
You are very organized. I'm not that organized.
My middle name is efficiency. So, I try to find ways to keep it easy, especially by the end of the week when my brain is just so tired from work and everything. Everything's on autopilot. And that's really the key, is meal planning and such is a big part of helping to reduce the cost.
And I think you said meal planning is really essential. And so it doesn't take that long to plan a meal. Even if you want to do that with your family, ask them what's going on, what they need. And it's amazing how many people are being diagnosed with gluten sensitivity and or celiac, or just having that sensitivity that they're not even aware of, but when they switch, they feel so much better. So we go to the store. How do we save like 50% off or more of what we're buying? Is it what we talked about earlier? Is there another trick when we're a savvy shopper?
Well, the other thing is too that one of my favorite ways is the frozen vegetables. So I have a bag of frozen peas, but you could get green beans and all sorts of things. I'm not talking about the stuff with sauces and spices all over it.
Because usually that has gluten inside of it, the sauces.
It could, but it also has other nasty ingredients that you just don't need.
A lot of salt,
yeah.
a lot of sugar.
And so the idea is get things that are simple and clean, so just get the vegetable itself. A bag of 1 pound of, say, peas or green beans, for example, you could buy them for $1 as opposed to fresh, which would cost you $1.59 up to $2.
And you can freeze them too.
Right, you can freeze, and obviously they stay in the freezer, and you can add them to soups and stews and sauces and all sorts of things. So they make a meal go further, and you have things in your freezer. So in that pinch on Thursday night when you come home from work and you're exhausted, you can pull out those frozen items in your freezer, and voila, there you go.
Jennifer, that's so important. Thank you so much. And you have a school, so make sure people find out about you. The recent suicide of Robin Williams has us look at another side to depression and another side to Robin Williams that we didn't know. Depression strikes so many people and many more in the entertainment industry. When we come back, a glimpse at Robin Williams' memorial service. Welcome back. The sad news of comedic genius Robin Williams' suicide sent shockwaves all through us. Also surprising was his battle with depression. Here to tell us of Robin Williams' moving memorial service, depression, and his new book is radio host of CooperTalk, Steve Cooper. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Joanne. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thank you for being here. So
No
you
problem.
actually were at Robin's service. Tell us a little bit about the memorial service.
Well, it was a memorial at the Comedy Store. It wasn't like his actual service. This was a memorial for only comics, and there's a line out front, and they had a list, and some really big names showed up. I mean, then they gave tribute. Bob Saget gave a great tribute. His act is so dirty, but he incorporated that and just stories about Robin. And everyone just really said what a great person he was, and just they remembered him, and that he was just really giving. I mean, everyone mentioned all the charity work he did. And a lot of times when something like this happens, people just think about the depression or this or the suicide. They don't really look into all the stuff he did. He entertained the troops. He did so many different donations for charities. And I just thought he was an amazing person.
He really was, and he contributed so much to us. What do you remember what one of the comedians said about him that was so special that sticks in your mind?
Well, Norm Macdonald was almost in tears, and he had talked about how the word genius is so easily used this day, and that actually Robin was a genius. And that was one of the consensuses throughout the night, that he was a genius. And now everyone's a genius. You know, someone can be on a reality show and they're a genius. But no, Robin was a genius, not only with his comedy, but I was more of a fan of his acting. I mean, I thought he was a great comic, but I loved his acting. I mean, Good Will Hunting, a movie called Seize the Day where he just played drama. Even you're showing clips of Miss Doubtfire. Miss Doubtfire was just, it was just funny. He was just an amazing actor.
Now, you also have been in comedy. You've also had your great radio show, and you were on the road doing comedy. Is depression more prevalent in entertainers or in comedians than in the regular population?
Well, I think everybody is going to have depression, but with comedians especially, you have more time to deal with it. Because anyone who's creative, their mind is always going. And you think about it, when I was on the road, you do a show, you have a good set, great set, you're up there for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then you're not working for 24 hours. So, you're by yourself in a hotel and your mind's always on. And comics dwell. And so you worry about stupid things, and then that leads to depression. I think it's a lonely, isolated road somewhat.
I also think that you're so dependent on what the audience thinks of you, and you've got to be quick and you've got to be fast, and you're listening to applause, and whether or not they're getting your humor or getting your jokes, that can really set somebody off.
Oh yeah, and also the worst thing is, you sort of take for granted the great sets, but it's when you have the bad set that you feel worthless. There's nothing like going up on the stage, and it happens to everybody, and you have a lousy set, and you're walking off, and people are just looking at you because people paid money, and if you stunk that night, they sit there and you have a worthless feeling because you go into depression, and you have to rebound if you have a second show because you want to do better.
You actually have a book that I think you finalized. Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Yeah, I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure 2 years ago. And, it was from working in restaurants, working on the road as a comic. I didn't eat well. I smoked cigarettes. I had bad habits, and I found myself in the hospital. And when I got out, I had to change my life completely. So I thought, I have to cook, and not much salt. That's one of the problems of congestive heart failure. So I made a cookbook. We're trying to get it sold. It's called Stop the Assault, and the A and the U. It's called Stop the Salt. And basically, it's easy cooking for one. There's no pictures because people get so intimidated when they look at a cookbook. They sit there and they go, "Oh, I can't cook that. It looks so good." And it's limited ingredients because people see, you look like, I don't have paprika, I don't have this, and you get nervous. People get nervous when they want to cook. So it's just cooking for one. And the recipes, it takes like 20 minutes. I have a key in the front with how much, the ingredients you use, the time you cook certain vegetables, and it just explains it to make it easy.
You're the host of Cooper Talk, and you're only as good as your guests. What does that mean? And tell us about.
Only as hip as my guest.
Oh, excuse me. Only as hip, and you are hip, Steve.
No, that's not. It's a facade. I buy hats to be hip. That's what it is. No, it just means I get guests that I watched on TV when I was younger, or guests if I watch TV now. I'll watch a show and I'll see an actor and I'll go, God, I want to get that guy on my show. And if I find they have social media, I hit them up, and 50 or 60% of the time they get back to me, and we just come in and we talk about their career. The show's about them. I'm just the host.
So tell us one of the experiences that you had on the show that really stands out.
Well, Yakov Smirnoff was on 2 weeks ago, and actually I'm going to be coaching him to interview, and he told a story about, when we talk about depression,
right.
He was living in a $3.5 million house in Pacific Palisades when communism ended. So basically, his whole act ended. In fact, he said it was so depressing. Letterman said, top 10 things now that communism is over. And they said number one was Yakov Smirnoff needs to get a job. So it was just interesting because he rebounded. And he actually went to the University of Pennsylvania, and he got his master's. And he's a professor in the University of Missouri. And he bought a theater in Branson. And now he just talks about happiness and laughter, and how laughter relates to relationships. It was a very interesting story. And he basically came to the U.S. He got traded. His parents could come because he got traded for wheat. That back then, the U.S. sent the wheat to the Soviets, and then he could come over. Very interesting story.
Well, thanks so much. And Steve, you are hip, whether or not you believe that. Thanks again for being here. Are your obstacles in life keeping you from your dreams? When we're back, a powerfully true story that will inspire you. My next guest is an entrepreneur inspiration. She's the president and CEO of V Agency, Inc., and joins us with her story of struggle, overcoming huge barriers, and ultimate success. Veronica Jeon, welcome.
Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm doing wonderfully. you do have a story about struggle.
I do.
And your parents were entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And you actually learned so much from them too. You became this incredible entrepreneur yourself. And then something happened that you're going to share with all of us that changed everything. What was that?
Yes, so grew up with, as you said, two entrepreneurial parents in the hospitality industry. After college, I went into the family business, was successful for me being in my 20s. Started a catering business, and of course, the economy tanked. While the economy tanked, I was going through a transition in my personal life, and I became a sole single parent to my daughter, Maya. So I said, you know what? I need to do something, because Maya's looking at me like, what now, Mom? So I started GV Management Consulting. We were a full-service business consulting firm, also doing PR and communications. Meanwhile, right before I started that, I said, you know what? Everything is falling apart. What am I going to do? I lost literally everything, everything from house to car.
So you had to start from scratch.
Yes, I started absolutely from scratch. I had nothing. There were nights when I had too much pride to tell my parents what was going on, because I am I'm an only child.
Right.
So I would drop my daughter off at my parents' house, and I slept in the car a couple nights.
And they knew nothing about that.
They knew nothing.
Right.
My girlfriends knew nothing at that time.
Well, that's the pride. So let me ask you this, though, because then you started this V agency, and how did you handle the sense of failure? Because I think that's really important. Oftentimes we go through failure, but how do we rebound? How do we get back to a different place?
You know, I think your attitude towards failure is going to propel you towards success. That is my philosophy. I feel as though because failure is inevitable. It's a part of your success journey. So when you fail, you know what? Just look at yourself in the mirror, which I know is hard to do, and look and say, you know what could I have done better? This is really an opportunity for me to learn so that I can move towards success.
Which is so important. So it's really about, like you said, using it as a learning opportunity to help propel you forward. What did you learn?
You know, I learned mainly three things. One, lay your foundation. And what I mean by that is look at yourself. You have to know yourself, accept yourself, and love yourself first.
And like you said, it's not always easy for people to look in the mirror and really get to know all of their idiosyncrasies, their good and their bad or whatever, and still accept and embrace that.
Absolutely. It's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Second thing is, you know, like I said, failure is a part of success, and take it as an opportunity to learn. And the third thing is, if plan A doesn't work, you have the entire alphabet. And what I mean by that is, you know, the power of resilience. Just get yourself back up and keep it moving. Keep moving towards your success.
That's such a wonderful motto. It makes me smile every time I hear it. And you have a book coming out with that. So tell us about the book.
Yes, so this book, the title is When Plan A Doesn't Work. It's about my life story, everything that I've had to overcome to be where I am now. Just to give you a glimpse of it, being homeless was just a little bit of what I went through. I'm also a survivor of domestic violence. So my message to the audience is, if I can do it, if I am able to overcome these obstacles and live my dream, the American dream, you can too.
What was your alphabet?
My alphabet?
Yeah, if plan A doesn't work, you have the whole alphabet. So
know,
what was part of the alphabet for you?
It was everything from, like I said, learning about myself. It was even with business, you know, plan A always doesn't work. As I mentioned, I started out as GV management, where we were doing day-to-day operations, and then my plan, of course, B, because I found plan A wasn't really my passion. I dreaded, you know, going to work every day.
Why was that?
You know, I was very good at doing operations because I did it for years.
Right,
but it wasn't my passion. Correct. And I quickly found out communications and IT and PR was my passion.
How did you know what your passion was? Because that's so very important to you and really to everybody, that sense of passion to move you forward.
I just felt it in my gut. When I talk about communications, when I talk about PR, when I help clients, I absolutely love it. I don't mind working until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I think about it, I breathe it, I live it. It's just a part of me.
So you get more animated, and like you said, you feel it in your gut. You can really feel the excitement and the energy that that gives you, as opposed to when you were doing the other stuff that was good. You were good at it, but it wasn't enough.
Absolutely. So our motto and our corporate culture is your success is our passion. And nothing gives me more passion than seeing our clients succeed and, you know, knowing that we had a part in their success.
So what would you like to leave us with? And you have so many great ideas, but again, when people are going through struggle, you talked about domestic violence that you were part of, and having to pick yourself up from the bootstraps, coming here. Tell us real quickly.
Last thought I would like to leave is, you know what, you can do it. Believe in yourself. You have everything that you need within you. You just have to dig deep.
Dig deep. I love that, because we do have everything within us, and it's about looking inside, pulling that out, exposing it, and sharing it with everyone.
Absolutely. And you know, you said it best. You said, you know, you have the power your dreams, power your life, and that's what I encourage your audience to live by.
And you are doing a fantastic job empowering everybody else, including you. Thanks so much for being here. Power Your Life will be right back. Ahead, find out what's hot for next week. Before we go, I'd like to leave you with my PowerPoints for the week. Robin Williams was a brilliant American actor, a comedian, a film producer, and screenwriter who lifted us up with lightness and humor. He made us laugh while having us take a really good look at ourselves. We salute him for all he was, for his loving kindness, his spirit and generosity, and for all the treasures that he gave us. His role in Happy Days, Mork and Mindy, Good Will Hunting, Mrs. Doubtfire, Happy Feet, Aladdin, and so much more. Thank you, Robin. Remind yourself of the humorous side to you, even to your challenges and mistakes. Respect your strengths, and have at least one upbeat thought at the end of the day about you. Find something to smile about. Thanks for joining us today. Next Tuesday, he's the New York Times best-selling author of several novels, including the Silver Linings Playbook, made into the hit movie. Author Matthew Quick joins us to talk about his latest book. Remember that you have the power to power your dreams and power your life.
Big kisses. Hi. Mind if I sit down?